Alright, today's subject is motorcycle handlebar vibration and what you can do to battle it. I've had some bikes where I've done a bunch of different things over the years, so I thought I'd just share that here. We're going to start out simple. So one of the simplest things you can do is get super squishy foam grips and put them on the bike. This is a Suzuki GS650G, 1981 model. And it's great, except the handlebars are super buzzy. So on this one, I've got the squishy grips, but that was not enough. I was going to fill the handlebar with something. People told me that if you put lead shot in the handlebars, it would reduce the vibration. Now, all the gun stores were out of lead shot, so I bought BBs, and I went to fill it up, and I found out that the previous owner, who's kind of a mad scientist, had welded bolts inside of here. So he tack welded a big, long, heavy bolt into the inside of both handlebars because he was trying to reduce the vibration as well. Well, obviously that didn't work because I was still having trouble with it. So what I did was drilled a hole in the middle of the handlebars under the bracket here. I drilled a hole in there and I filled it up with BBs, with steel BBs, and then plugged it with some, I think I used shoe goo or silicone caulking material, something to keep the BBs from all falling out and rolling across my gas tank. So far it's held. And so this handlebar itself is really super heavy. It's like a bar of solid steel, and that helps somewhat. That plus the squishy grips makes it dealable. The vibration wasn't really bad unless you were doing 80 miles an hour or 75, but the problem is you have to do 80 miles an hour or more on the freeways out here because they're doing 80 on all four lanes or they're stopped standing still. So that worked pretty well. I was kind of expecting it to work better to make it this heavy. Now what I've done on some of my other bikes, and the other simple solution is, like Harley-Davidson makes motorcycles that vibrate. They also make gloves that have gel padding in them. So you can see they put actual gel in the parts of the glove where your hand is going to be touching the handlebars. So gloves and squishy grips are the cheap solution. Then we move on to this Honda. So the Honda gets buzzy on the freeway as well. This is my Honda XL 500R. And what I did was put some bar ends on it, some aluminum bar ends. And these, you basically open up the hole to the, what I did was just cut the ends off of my, my hand grips and then stick this in the hole, tighten it with a Allen wrench. And when you ride, when you've got these bar end grips in, and you put your hand on this, you can feel a lot of buzz out here and a lot less buzz on your handlebars. So it moves the vibration out a little bit to where your hand isn't. There's a guy who's been selling something, I think it's called a Vibranator or something like that, it has a weird name, but that makes one of these that has a big heavy bar that extends inside the handlebar. So the vibration goes out here, goes into the big bar, and then dissipates. I haven't tested that yet to see if that works. So on the Honda, I put these on, it helped a little bit, and then I bought what's called a bar snake, which is a big heavy piece of rubber that you run through the handlebars. So basically you take the ends off of your handlebars and then put a whole bunch of grease on this big heavy piece of rubber and stuff it through the handlebars. Goes all the way through to the other end, and then you cut it off on both ends. And that helped too. So it combination of the bar snake and the end grips made the Honda a lot better on the road. Now it is a big single. It's a counterbalanced big single, but it still vibrates. It's just not as irritating as it used to be. Now in the world of Harley, I rode a Harley Sportster for years, and I made a bunch of modifications to it because it vibrated a lot. That was pre-2003 when the Sportsters were solid mounted engines, and there was no vibration damping, no rubber mounting of the engines. What they did on the older Harleys was, you can see where the handlebar connects to the triple tree thingy is rubber, so that you can actually, I don't know if you can see that, but the handlebar actually moves independently of this. So it's not a solid mount like it would be on other bikes. It actually goes into this big rubber biscuit that you can see sticking out here. So they sell different densities of rubber, and you can switch back and forth to either get more control of your bike, you know, get it so it moves around less, or if you can get a smoother ride. So it is possible to tune it that way. Now you could use the techniques I used on the Honda, you know, the bar snake. You could try various end grips also if you're trying to get the tingle out of your handlebars. So I ended up getting rid of the Sportster altogether and picking up a Buell, which is rubber mounted and makes double the horsepower and is super smooth on the freeway. But it runs a Sportster engine. This is one of the older Buells running the Sportster engine. On my Sportster, I bought a Fisher Harmonic balancer made by Fisher Racing. And basically it's a big steel donut that goes right up on the front sprocket coming off of the crankshaft. So you remove the nut that holds the big gear that turns the primary here, and you put this big giant, I don't know, maybe weighs 3 pounds. I'll have to do some research and maybe I'll put a notation on this video. I can't remember how much it weighed, but it's basically you're bolting a big heavy rubber weight onto the crankshaft. So the rubber absorbs some of the vibration, and the extra weight of it dissipates some of the reduces the vibration that's created by the engine, and that helped out a little bit, but it still vibrated quite a bit. It was kind of like changing the gearing maybe would have an effect. You know, it was noticeable, but it didn't make it super pleasant to ride. There's a company called Suntech that makes a thing called Ballast Masters, which is they have a circle that goes on here, and then a circle thing that goes on here, and on the outside of the circle is a mysterious material that dynamically balances the vibration out of your engine. I think that mysterious material is probably mercury, but it's something, so it's got basically some kind of heavy liquid metal in there spinning around and supposedly reducing the vibration. I haven't tried that, so I haven't heard if that works really well or not. Now the other thing I did with the Sportster was similar to what I did with the Suzuki. I filled on the Sportster though, I filled the handlebars with latex caulk, which is not as heavy as a bar snake or as heavy as the steel BBs, and that didn't seem to make much difference at all. So if I were doing an old Sportster, I would go with the bar snake. I would try some of those Vibranator things. I know I'm saying it wrong. The one that goes in the handlebar end weights that have the counterweight that goes inside the bars. That seems to make a little bit of sense to me. I haven't read a review on those. If any of you guys have used them, I'd like to know if they actually work for you. Of course, the other thing you could do to reduce vibration would be to change the final gearing on the bike by putting on a different rear sprocket or different front sprocket. If you have a belt drive, you can do that. If you have a chain drive like this one, you just alter the gear ratio so it's turning less RPMs at higher speeds. And when you do that, you want to make sure that if you have a GPS unit, you want to calculate or calibrate your speedometer with the GPS unit, because in some cases the speedometer is driven off of the transmission rather than the front wheel. So if you change the final gearing, your motorcycle won't know how fast it's going. It'll still think that you have stock gearing, and it will be wrong. On a shaft drive bike, you're hosed. There's not much you can do. You can't really go in there and buy a different shaft or different gearing arrangement. You could put a bigger tire on it to get a little more lower RPMs at high speed, but so anyway, that's been my adventures with vibration reduction. Hopefully that helps, because I know it's a question that a lot of people ask, and especially if you're a Harley person and you ask about it, a lot of people will tell you, oh, it's supposed to vibrate, it's a Harley, and that's about as far as you get. But there are things you can do to reduce it.